Hey guys, JB here from Alpha Wolf Consulting, coming to you today with another lesson in the Introduction to Sales and Communications course. And this is the final lesson. So this is the sales wrap up. So the course wrap up. So basically, we went through and we introduced and had a look at in the earlier stages of the course. Well, what is sales? And sales is just directed communication, okay, with intention. So we're talking to someone because they have a need and we have a product or a service that fits it. We had a little bit of a look at understanding how sales has evolved over, the last 100 years with, the changes in technology and things like that, and the shifts in culture and all of that. We looked at theses on sales and my personal thesis on sales, where sales is important in context of being able to really talk to a buyer, really understand your buyers, understand who is your actual customer, your customer avatar, and understanding who is not a buyer, who is not that avatar, and being able to, not pursue those who are not your customer and focus solely on, who is your customer. Other things like understanding, the process of sales, the process of a sale where we qualify, we got to qualify our buyers, we got to present our product, service, or offer to them to educate them on the needs for it. We've got to overcome objections, you know, overcoming these false narratives or false beliefs about why this wouldn't work or why they don't need to take action and all of that. And then closing, just understanding it's okay to ask for business. Like, when we're closing, we're always closing because we've always got that intention that if your values align with the business, we want you to be a customer with the business. Other things like just understanding the three keys of any sale, which is a buyer must like you, or a buyer must know you, they got to like you, they got to trust you, because if they don't, if a buyer doesn't know you, how do they know what you do and, what your company does? If a buyer doesn't like you, they're going to have a negative emotional bias towards your product. If a buyer doesn't trust you, they won't give you the time of the day to talk to, to explain to them the problems or to explain solutions or anything like that. We had a bit of a look at in the course lead generation and the important difference and segregation between prospecting for new business and lead generation. So we understand the difference is prospecting is the act of going out there and engaging and initiating conversations, and lead generation is when we take that initial conversation and generate a lead out of it through directed or intentional communication. So saying to someone like, hey, I've got a free consultation, and then them saying, yeah, I would like that. So we direct them. Do you sort of understand? So we start a conversation with them by, asking a couple of questions and things like that. And then we do lead generation where we're presenting them with a way for them to become a customer or a buyer for us. So, lead generation could be deals or discounts in terms of 20% off or something like that. If we're trying to generate leads for, say, a product or a service. Okay. Now, we can also use information or, resources in terms of having guides, in terms of having, free books, just pay delivery, these sort of things. Like, in this category, when we're generating leads, it comes down to the value of the resource. Is the resource applicable? If we've got a 5-step guide to, let's say, buying your first home, like what are we saying in that guide? And is it actually actionable? And if a potential buyer were to read this guide and action the steps or the strategy in the guide, will they get the outcome that has been promised or advertised? So we just understand that, like, in lead generation, what we're trying to do is we're trying to transition from a general inquiry conversation into a directed problem solving conversation. Okay. So we also looked at, some of the different forms of sales. You got your face to face, you've got your, you know, um, over the phone, we've got our via video. Pretty much however technology goes is how sales can be done, because sales is just communication. So however we can communicate to one another, we can sell to one another. And there is sales processes, you know, strategies for all different forms of communication. Even things, people think of archaic as handwritten letters. There are still people who sell through handwritten letters. Um, Dan Kennedy is a very valuable example of this. Since the I think 60s, 70s, or 80s, he's been running one of the most effective and successful direct mailing strategies for his products and services that he offers. So we just got to understand that we are not limited to any way of selling. We are just limited to how we can communicate with our buyers. So, for example, if we were targeting younger buyers, well, we probably wouldn't be trying to call them on the phone. We would probably be trying to direct message them through apps in terms of, Facebook, Instagram, all of this. Like, we wouldn't be trying to take them out of their natural behavior and try and make them sort of follow our behaviors. Now, this is for prospecting. Now, for lead generation is where we're transitioning from the medium that they are on, where we can communicate with them, and then the medium where we're directing and communicating. So think of it as like a buyer showing interest on Facebook. We do initial conversation on Facebook, and then we transition to, hey, book in a meeting and we'll run you through the process. So, that's quite important, but we got to remember that the most important thing is we are communicating. So that's sort of why I created this course as being sales and communications, because you can't sell without communicating, and you can't communicate without selling. So when we communicate, we are selling our ideas, we are selling our opinion, our, value, our, feelings, our emotions. Like, in intimate relationships, if you think about intimate relationships, we share our feelings, but we have to we're selling how we feel. In context of, we are trying to communicate and educate the other person in terms of communicate in a way where they understand the internal emotional state that we are in. In sales, we are much doing the same, except for when we are communicating to them our emotional state within the the structure, or the not foundation, but the structure of our sort of professional understanding, our company, our business. So, we've got the structure that we are communicating to them that we want them to follow, in terms of, this is how we communicate. You know what I mean? We communicate via calls, we're booking meetings, things like that. Like, we have a process. So that's what we're trying to do, is communicate across to the potential buyer the value of the process and the outcomes that are aligned with it or assigned to it. So, for example, if a customer wants weight loss and we're a gym owner, and we've got let's say a gym business, like, for example, okay, what we're trying to communicate across to the potential member is, we're trying to identify their needs and things like that, and then we're trying to take them through the journey of acquiring what they want to do. So it's not a gym membership for a week, it's a gym membership for 12 months, 2 years, sort of like health is an ongoing thing. But it's also in taking them through the process and the experience of what it will feel like in terms of when they're running a healthy lifestyle, and they're feeling good and energized about themselves, and they're feeling liberated and free within their body. Like, how is that going to make them feel about their day-to-day life? Are they going to feel better or worse? Are they going to wake up every day more happy and more vibrant? Or are they going to wake up every day feeling exactly the same? So what we're trying to do is take the buyer on the journey of that experience so that they're able to self-identify and self-realize, well, if I was to work out for 12 months, after that, I'd probably be in pretty good shape, and I'd probably be, feeling really good about who I am and about, my body image and all these different things. And I'm probably going to be a bit more excited about life and healthier. So it's in understanding this that we just have to understand, well, how do we communicate? And remember, we went through this in the course where we looked at body language, tonality, and language patterns. So in taking someone through that experience, we have to be hyper aware of our body language. Are we conveying through our body language the same meaning that our words have? If we're saying positive things, is our body language positive? I'm not trying to cross my arms and say, oh yeah, I think it'd be really amazing for you if you were able to do this. Like, our body language has to be aligned and congruent to the language that we are utilizing. Our tonality has to be there. So we're not sitting there shouting at someone, while they're telling us something negative that's happened to them, and we're just shouting like, oh, I'm so sorry, that would be so bad. Like, we're not acting like that. So we got to understand that our tonality is going to convey different feelings or emotional states. Okay. Just like our body language is going to, display our mental state, what we're sort of thinking about, where our focus is. So, for example, if we're thinking about, things that are making us angry, we're probably going to be in a more, sort of closed off in our body language, more, negative, more hostile, more standoffish. To whereas if we're happy, we're probably going to be a bit more open, and we're probably going to be a bit more inviting. So we just got to understand that. But then in understanding, the tonalities, we want to understand that, there are certain tonalities that show care. There are certain tonalities that show interest and excitement. There are certain, tonalities that are inquiry, where we're curious. So it's all these different layers that laid onto the language pattern, or the structure of the words, and the words we choose to use, okay, ultimately can have a cohesive and aligned meaning in terms of the words and the way I structure the words, the tonalities that I'm using to basically speak those words, and the body language and positions I'm holding while speaking. Are they aligned to the same intention and meaning, or are they unaligned? So these are some of the different ways in which we understand and experience meaning, or the meaning of what other people say and do. So we experience it through, how they say it. It's not so much what they say, but it's how they say it, and all of that. All right. And then we had a look at, understanding sales cycles and how to develop a sales cycle and build a sales cycle and how to optimize a sales cycle. So we just understand that the sales cycle is just from point A to point B. The customer doesn't know who we are, so we have to prospect. That's point A. And point B is the end of the sale. What are all the different actions and activities that we have to do throughout that process, so sort of so that it aligns to the majority of buyers ending up on the side of having purchased rather than the side of not having purchased. Okay. And then when we look to optimize, we're looking to take it from being good and we're looking to make it great. We're looking to make it amazing by really refining and sort of limiting or lowering any time constraints and collapsing time frames and increasing effectiveness of actions. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this course and I hope you understand a bit more about it and that you enjoy sales and it just comes down to communicating, how we communicate and the experiences people have while we are communicating with them to the outcome of the sale. All right. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing time and I'll see you on the next course. Thanks so much. Bye.